In this video, I want to walk you through a code review for a front-end application that is written in Nuxt.js. Code reviews are usually performed before the code is merged into its target branch. I usually start going over the pull request by reading its title and the description. So as per the title, the pull request that I have over here will be reflected in the banner section. That's a good start. This pull request is a title that represents the change. It also has a description about the changes along with a screenshot and a reference to a Figma file. It also has a to-do item so that I know a particular feature will be implemented in future pull requests, which is really great. Now, as per the description, this PR refactors and moves the navbar component from the index page into a new component called the header so that it can be reused by multiple components. So I'm guessing the developer is talking about the navigation bar that we see on this page. To better understand it, the index page previously had a navigation bar and a hero section. As per this new refactor, this navigation bar is now moved into a new reusable component called the header. This new component is imported instead of writing the code for the navigation bar in the index page. And because it is built out separately, it can be reused in different pages. As a result, it reduces the code duplication in our code base. There are 3 file changes, so I can click on this tab and go over and give my review. It has 120 lines of new code addition, which is not too bad. It is always nice to keep your pull request about 100 to 200 lines, so it is also easy to review. I usually start by quickly skimming through the files to get a brief idea of all the changes. Another thing I usually do is pull these changes locally so I can run the application and see the changes for myself. The application is running on port 3000, so let's open it in a browser. It looks fine at first glance. This is a front-end application and it is written in Nuxt.js. So Nuxt.js is a popular framework for building web applications in Vue.js. It offers several advantages, such as the options for server-side rendering, static site generation, automatic routing, code splitting, and it is also SEO friendly. Nuxt also has its opinion on the directory structure, so we can better organize our codes and files. Also, let's keep this Figma file open so we can reference it during our code review process. I think now we are all set up to start our code review. In this update, the first notable change is the addition of a new logo. And this logo comes in the form of an SVG image which is added to the assets directory. I think this approach works fine for smaller images. But it should be noted that if the logo is a larger image, it is often recommended to consider moving it to an alternative hosting such as using a CDN or just placing them in a public folder. Let's go to the next file. Getting a brief idea, it seems like this component creates the navigation bar that will be reused by multiple components. I can see that it's using several Bootstrap CSS classes, which look fine to me. Now he's using an anchor tag for navigation links. While this should work, Nuxt actually has a component called as Nuxt links, and we can pull up the documentation to be sure and check how that component works. As you can read here, the Nuxt link component is a replacement for the router link, which is a component by Vue for routers and links, as well as HTML's anchor tag. So we can add it as a suggestion to this code. We can add comments to a set of lines by dragging it, and it will open up an input box to add a suggestion. I will suggest that we can use a Nuxt link, which is a drop-in replacement for Vue router's router link component and the HTML's anchor tag. We can further add that it provides optimizations such as prefetching. And finally, we can also add a reference to the documentation. So the author can pull up this documentation and read more about it. Once we are ready with the comment, we can start our review and we can move forward. And similarly, we can also suggest to use Nuxt link here. and add this comment as a review. Now the developer is using the before directive to render a list of items in an array. This nav item is an array of object for each navbar item. It is defining the data and it holds the name of the tab, its route, and also its target. We also need to pass a unique identifier for this before directive, but something's not good over here. We need to use unique identifiers as key. However, the developer is using an item, which is an object, and it's recommended to use primitives as key rather than an object. So I'll add a comment here saying something like, it's good to use a unique identifier as a key. The key binding expects a primitive values, that is strings and numbers. So it's not recommended to use objects as keys. Also, I can add that using item.id as key instead of just an item would be better, as it ensures that you can efficiently update the DOM. We can click the preview tab over here to see how our comment would look like. And once we are comfortable, we can click the add review comment. The href attribute over here specifies the route of the page, and the target specifies how the link will open, whether it will open in the same tab or if it's going to be opening in a new tab. The item.name inside the hashtag tag will show the name of the tab. So we have come towards the end of the template section over here. Okay, so the structure of the HTML template looks good. However, since this is going to be a landing page, we should also make considerations for accessibility. So we can add that as a comment over here, that we should use unordered list instead of views for navigation menu. Having the links with an unordered list can help the screen readers read out the things in the list, and add that as a comment for review. And we should also add this link as a reference in this comment. Once everything looks fine with the template section, we can move towards the script section of the component. Now this is written using the options API. So the Vue provides two different APIs, the option API and the composition API. And you should follow the API that your team or the project follows. I like the approach of having an array of objects for the navigation items. However, there's a small typo in the restaurants item. It should be target _ self rather than self. And we can add this as a suggestion over here, so that way the author of this code can simply accept the change. Yeah, other than that, the script section looks fine over here. Now let's go to the style section. We are using SCSS with the scope styling, which is a good practice for encapsulating styles to this component. However, we are styling the elements selector directly, such as the navigation, which is nav, and the anchor tag here. Vue actually recommends us to avoid this practice as per the style guide. Here's a reference to the Vue style guide that recommends using class selectors over element selectors in scope. Now we can add that as a comment over here. Element selectors should be avoided with scoped, and we should prefer to use class selectors as per the Vue style guide. We have one more file to go through for this pull request. Let's continue that in our next video. I hope you found this part helpful and gave you some insights for doing a code review. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day and see you soon.